You know, there comes a moment in everyone's life when you finally stop living for other people's expectations and start living for your own purpose. That moment right there is when life truly begins. See, too many of us spend years, sometimes decades, trying to fit in, trying to please people who don't even know what they want for themselves. We wear masks, we play roles, and we try to be what others think we should be. But let me tell you something. You will never find peace, you will never find joy, and you will never find real success until you find yourself. Life begins when you stop living for others and start living for your purpose. That's the truth most people never understand until much later in life. We grow up being told what's right, what's wrong, what success looks like, and how to fit into a mold that was never shaped for us in the first place. From childhood, we're conditioned to please others, our parents, our teachers, our friends, even society. We chase approval like it's oxygen, and we build our lives on what we think will make other people happy. But in doing that, we forget ourselves. We lose the sound of our own voice, the beat of our own heart, and the dream that once made us feel alive. Living for others is like walking in shoes that don't fit. They might look good to someone else, but they hurt with every step you take. The truth is, you can't please everyone. No matter what you do, there will always be someone who thinks you're not enough. You could give them your best effort, your time, your energy, and they'd still find a reason to doubt you. So why keep giving your power away? The moment you stop living for others and start living for your own purpose, that's the moment freedom begins. That's when you take control of your life and decide that your happiness, your peace, and your dreams matter more than anyone's opinion. You start realizing that you weren't born to be a copy. You were born to be an original. Living for your purpose doesn't mean ignore everyone else or live selfishly. It means you finally start honoring who you are. It means waking up each day with intention, doing what fuels your soul instead of what drains it. It means setting boundaries and saying no to things that no longer serve you. Purpose isn't about fame or money. It's about meaning. It's about knowing that what you do, what you give, and how you live reflect the truth of who you are. When you're walking in your purpose, there's a glow about you that can't be faked. People can feel it. You start to attract the right energy, the right people, and the right opportunities because you're aligned with what's real. When you live for others, your life feels like a constant what it means to truly know who you are performance. You're always worried about being judged, always editing yourself to fit in. That kind of living wears you out. Or when you start living for your purpose, the pressure disappears. You stop performing and start being. You no longer need applause to feel valuable. You no longer need permission to move forward. You understand that your worth was never tied to someone else's acceptance. It was always within you. Purpose gives you direction. It gives you strength when things fall apart in hope, when life gets heavy. Many people spend their entire lives chasing validation, never realizing that the person they're trying so hard to impress doesn't even hold the power to define their happiness. You hold that power. You get to decide who you want to be, what dreams you want to chase, and how you want to spend your time on this earth. Life is short, and living for others only makes it shorter. But when you live for your purpose, you start making every moment count. You find joy in the small things. You appreciate your journey and you learn to love yourself for who you are, not for what people want you to be. There's something beautiful that happens when you choose yourself. You starting to breathe differently, think differently, and walk differently. The world might not understand it at first, but that's okay. They don't need to understand. You didn't come here to be understood. You came here to live your truth. So, stop hiding behind other people's expectations. Stop letting fear of judgment hold you back. Your life begins the moment you stop apologizing for who you are and start embracing the person you were created to be. That's when real happiness begins. That's when peace becomes your home, and that's when you finally start living, not just existing. Finding yourself requires deep self-reflection and courage. It's not a simple thing to look in the mirror and ask, who am I really? Because most people spend their lives avoiding that question. It's easy to get lost in the noise of the world. What people say, what social media shows, what society expects. But real growth begins when you dare to look within. Self-reflection forces you to face the truth about yourself, not the version you present to others. It makes you see the fears you've buried, the pain you've ignored, and the dreams you've set aside. It's uncomfortable, it's raw, but it's necessary if you ever want to live a life that's true to who you are. Without reflection, you move through life blindly, repeating the same mistakes and wondering why you feel empty. Reflection is the key that unlocks the door to self-awareness. And once that door opens, you can never go back to pretending you don't see the truth. Courage is what carries you through that process. It takes real bravery to admit when you're lost, to acknowledge the life you've built might not be the one you truly want. It's scary to let go of what's familiar, even when it's holding you back. But finding yourself means stepping into the unknown, trusting that there's something greater waiting for you on the other side of fear. Courage doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. It means you move forward in spite of it. Every time you choose to be honest with yourself, every time you decide to confront what hurts instead of hiding from it, you grow stronger. You start building a relationship with yourself that's based on truth, not illusion. Self-reflection is about slowing down and listening to the quiet voice inside you, the one that gets drowned out by the world's chaos. It's about taking time to understand your emotions, your habits, and your motivations. Why do you react the way you do? Why do certain things make you angry or sad or fulfilled? When you, Steve Harvey's story of self-discovery, begin to understand those answers, you gain power over your life. You stop being controlled by circumstances and start taking responsibility for your choices. You stop blaming others for your unhappiness and start realizing that the change you want begins within you. That awareness transforms everything. It changes how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you move through the world. But reflection alone isn't enough. You have to be brave enough to act on what you discover. Maybe you realize that your job isn't fulfilling you, that your circle doesn't support your growth, or that you've been living in fear instead of faith. Knowing that truth is one thing, but having the courage to make changes is another. Courage is the bridge between understanding yourself and becoming your best self. It's what allows you to walk away from what no longer fits and move toward what truly aligns with your soul. Most people stop at awareness because change feels too risky. Of the ones who dare to take action, the ones who trust that their inner voice is guiding them in the right direction, those are the ones who find freedom. Finding yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong journey, and there will be moments of doubt, confusion, and loneliness. But with every step, you'll start to see pieces of yourself you didn't know existed. You'll discover strengths hidden beneath your fears and dreams, buried under your doubts. You'll begin to love yourself, not for who you think you should be, but for who you truly are. That's where reflection and courage give you the power to live authentically. And once you've tasted that kind of honesty, you'll never settle for less again. The world might try to shape you, but when you know yourself deeply and have the courage to stay true to that person, No force on earth can break you. Comparison kills self-discovery. Focus on your own journey. One of the greatest mistakes we make in life is measuring our worth against someone else's progress. We look at what others have, their success, their relationships, their lifestyle, and we start to question ourselves. We start to think we're behind, that we're not doing enough, or that something is wrong with us. But comparison is a thief. It steals your joy, your peace, and your focus. The truth is, everyone is running their own race. You can't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. What's meant for them is meant for them. And what's meant for you will always find you. When you spend your energy watching someone else's life, you lose sight of your own path, your own growth, and your own blessings. Every person on this planet is unique. You have your own story, your own timeline, and your own purpose. What looks like success for someone else might not even bring you happiness. Yet, we live in a world that constantly encourages competition. Social media, in particular, has made comparison an everyday habit. You scroll through pictures, videos, and posts, and before you know it, you start to feel inadequate. You start questioning your progress because you're seeing everyone's highlight reel while living through your behind-the-scenes moments. But nobody posts their struggles or their failures or the nights they cried themselves to sleep. Everyone is fighting battles you can't see. So comparing yourself to that illusion is not only unfair, it's self-destructive. When you focus on your own journey, something powerful happens. You begin to appreciate how far you've come instead of criticizing how far you have to go. You stop seeking validation from others and start finding confidence within yourself. You realize that growth isn't about speed, it's about direction. It doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as you keep moving forward. The truth is, some people may rise faster than you, and that's okay. You might face obstacles they never did, and that's okay too. Your challenges are shaping you for the kind of success only you are meant to have. Every setback, every delay, every disappointment is preparing why your purpose matters more than success. You for your moment. Comparison makes you forget your blessings. It blinds you to everything you've already accomplished. You can't celebrate your wins when you're too busy counting someone else's. Gratitude is the antidote to comparison. When you take time to be thankful for what you have, you begin to see how much you've already grown. You realize that even small progress is still progress. You start finding joy in your journey instead of frustration in someone else's timeline. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. And when your heart is full of appreciation, there's no room for envy. Focusing on your own journey doesn't mean you ignore others or refuse to be inspired. It means you learn from others without losing yourself. You can admire someone's success without doubting your own potential. You can cheer for someone else's victory while still believing your time will come. Life isn't a competition. It's a personal mission. The goal isn't to be better than someone else. It's to be better than you were yesterday. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you used to be. That's how you measure true growth. When you stop comparing, you free yourself. You stop trying to prove something to the world and start living for what feels right to you. You stop chasing validation and start chasing purpose. You start making choices that align with your values, your dreams, and your peace. You become more confident, more grounded, and more fulfilled. The world starts to look different because you're no longer seeing it through the lens of comparison. You're seeing it through the lens of authenticity. That's where true happiness begins. Because when you focus on your own journey, you stop worrying about where everyone else is going and start realizing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The journey to self-awareness costs comfort, but brings peace and clarity. Most people want growth, but very few are willing to face what growth requires. Self-awareness isn't easy because it demands that you look deeply at yourself, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It means confronting truths you may not want to admit, acknowledging mistakes you've made, and recognizing patterns that have held you back. It's a process that shakes the very foundation of your comfort zone. You'll find yourself questioning old beliefs, distancing from familiar people, and walking paths that feel uncertain. But that's the price of awakening. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. The very moment you decide to become self-aware, life will begin to challenge you to step out of everything that no longer serves your higher purpose. Comfort zones are dangerous because they disguise themselves as peace. You think you're fine because nothing feels wrong. But in reality, you're stuck. You're not growing. You're not evolving. And you're not discovering your potential. The truth is, comfort can be a trap. It keeps you in the same patterns, the same habits, and the same environment, even when they're slowly draining your spirit. Self-awareness begins when you start asking yourself, am I truly happy here? Or am I just used to this? That single question has the power to change your life. Because when you start questioning your comfort, you begin the process of transformation. As you grow more self-aware, you start to see the world differently. You recognize how much of your life was influenced by fear, ego, or other people's expectations. You begin to notice your triggers, your reactions, and your emotional patterns. You realize that not everything that feels good is good for you, and not everything that feels painful is bad for you. Sometimes discomfort is exactly what you need to break free from limitations. It's through the uncomfortable moments, the heartbreaks, the failures, the losses, overcoming doubt and fear that you truly meet yourself. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions. It reveals what's real and what's fake, what's worth keeping and what needs to go. As uncomfortable as it is, self-awareness brings clarity. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see what's been there all along. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your desires, and your fears. That kind of clarity is powerful because it gives you control over your life. You stop blaming the world for your problems and start taking responsibility for your choices. You stop chasing temporary highs and start pursuing lasting fulfillment. You begin to live with intention instead of drifting through life aimlessly. That's when peace begins to take root. Not because everything around you becomes perfect, but because everything within you becomes balanced. Peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from understanding yourself well enough to face it calmly. When you're self-aware, you stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You learn how to protect your energy, how to let go of what no longer fits, and how to love yourself without conditions. You stop needing approval because you've made peace with who you are. That peace is not fragile. It's strong, unshakable, and deeply grounding. It allows you to navigate life with wisdom and grace, even when everything around you feels chaotic. So yes, self-awareness costs you your comfort. It asks you to leave behind what's familiar even when it feels safe. It may distance you from people who once understood you, but it will bring you closer to your truth. And that truth, once you embrace it, becomes your greatest source of peace. Because there's no greater freedom than knowing who you are, no greater clarity than understanding your purpose, and no greater joy than living in alignment with your soul. Once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never want to go back to the comfort that kept you asleep Alignment with your true self attracts blessings and direction. Life starts to flow differently when you stop forcing things that aren't meant for you and begin aligning yourself with who you truly are. Most people spend their lives chasing success, love, or happiness without realizing that what they're really chasing is alignment. When your thoughts, actions, and values move in the same direction, you attract what's right for you instead of constantly fighting for what isn't. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about being honest with yourself about what you want, what you need, and who you are. When you stop pretending and start living in truth, the universe or God begins to move in ways that support you. Doors start opening that you didn't even know existed because you're finally walking in harmony with your purpose. The reason so many people feel lost or stuck is because they're living out of alignment. They're working jobs that drain them, staying in relationships that break them, and holding on habits that limit them. Deep down, their spirit knows something is wrong, but they silence that voice with distraction and routine. But no matter how far you run, your soul will always call you back to your truth. You'll feel that tug inside you, the one that whispers, "You're meant for more." That's alignment trying to guide you back home. When you start listening to that voice and making choices that honor your spirit, you begin to experience a kind of peace and clarity that nothing else can give. Alignment requires honesty and courage. You have to be willing to admit when something no longer feels right, even if it once did. You have to let go of people, places, and plans that no longer fit the person you're becoming. That's not easy because alignment often requires separation. You can't step into your purpose while clinging to things that pull you away from it. Sometimes God will close doors not because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting you from misalignment. It's His way of saying that's not your path anymore. And when you start trusting that process, you'll see that every ending was really a new beginning designed to move you closer to who you were always meant to be. When you're aligned with your true self, you start making decisions that come from wisdom instead of fear. You stop chasing what looks, building a life that feels true to you, good, and start pursuing what feels right. You no longer need to force opportunities because the right ones naturally find you. You attract people who resonate with your energy, situations that help you grow, and moments that confirm you're on the right track. Life doesn't become easier, but it becomes clearer. You stop feeling lost because you finally know where you're going. And even when challenges come, you face them with faith instead of frustration because you trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Alignment also brings blessings that are far beyond material success. It brings inner peace, self-respect, and confidence. You start to see your life as a reflection of your inner world. When you are centered, life flows. When you are confused, life feels chaotic. That's why alignment is so powerful. It teaches you that peace is not something you find outside of yourself. It's something you create by being true to who you are. Every time you make a decision that honors your truth, you move closer to the life you were destined to live. There's a certain magic that comes with alignment, a rhythm that feels divine. Things begin to connect. Opportunities appear at the right time. And people cross your path just when you need them. It's not luck. It's alignment. It's life responding to the energy you give off when you are living authentically. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer struggle to be understood. You simply exist in truth. And that truth draws everything meant for you closer effortlessly. When you live in alignment with your true self, you don't just find blessings, you become one. True life starts when you meet, accept, and believe in the real you. Most people go through life trying to become someone they think the world will love. They chase approval, validation, and perfection. But deep down, they feel a constant emptiness because they've never truly met themselves. They know their name, their job, and their roles, but not their soul. The truth is, you can't live a full life while pretending to be half of yourself. At some point, you have to stop running from who you are and take a deep look at the person within. That's where real freedom begins. Life doesn't truly start when everything looks perfect on the outside. It starts when you're at peace with who you are on the inside. Meeting yourself means seeing the truth, the parts you're proud of, and the parts you've tried to hide. It's recognizing your strengths, your flaws, your fears, and your dreams without judgment. Many people avoid this because they're afraid of what they might find. But ignoring yourself doesn't make the truth disappear. It only keeps you trapped in confusion. When you finally face yourself, when you allow yourself to feel, to question, to understand, you start connecting with the person you were meant to be all along. You begin to realize that your worth doesn't depend on what others think of you. It comes from within. You are already enough just as you are, but you have to believe it for it to change your life. Acceptance is the next step. It's one thing to know who you are, but it's another to fully accept it. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It means you stop fighting yourself. It's making peace with your past, forgiving your mistakes, and embracing your imperfections. You stop trying to fix everything that isn't broken and start appreciating the beauty in your uniqueness. You understand that everything you've been through, the pain, the failures, the disappointments, wasn't meant to destroy you, but to shape you. Acceptance brings calm to the chaos inside. It teaches you that self-love isn't about ego. It's about grace. It's about giving yourself permission to be human, to be flawed, to fall, to rise again, and to still be worthy of love. Believing in yourself is where transformation happens. When you start believing in your abilities, your vision, and your worth, life opens up in ways you never imagined. You begin to take risks, to dream bigger, and to speak up for yourself. You stop settling for less because you finally understand that your final thoughts from Steve Harvey deserve more. Belief is the foundation of every great story. It's what turns possibility into reality. Without belief, your potential stays locked inside you. With it, there's no limit to what you can achieve. When you truly believe in yourself, you no longer wait for others to validate your dreams. You stop asking for permission to be great, and you start walking boldly in your purpose. Meeting, accepting, and believing in yourself is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey. There will be days when you doubt yourself, when you fall back into old habits, or when fear whispers that you're not enough. But every time you choose to rise above that voice, you strengthen your connection with who you are. You learn to stand tall in your truth, even when the world doesn't understand it. You learn to love yourself, not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you've become in the process. When you meet yourself, you find awareness. When you accept yourself, you find peace. And when you believe in yourself, you find power. That's when life truly begins. Not when you become someone new, but when you finally embrace the person you've always been. From that moment on, you stop surviving and start living. You stop pretending and start shining. Because the greatest gift you can give to the world is not perfection, it's authenticity.